Welcome to the Deep Dive Learner. Today our mission is, it's actually going to challenge one of the most fundamental ways we interact with other human beings.
Oh, absolutely. It's a massive paradigm shift we're looking at today.
Right. So we are jumping into a piece of source material, a sermon-style text titled The Cross of Christ, Heaven's Definition of Love.
Which is a heavy title, but, so incredibly relevant.
It really is. And we're going to explore how this material radically reframes the entire concept of love. Like, we'll be contrasting the modern world's definition of, convenience and emotion with what this text presents as a purely theological gospel definition.
Because that modern definition is, frankly, just everywhere.
Exactly. Because if you think about it, almost everything in our modern world operates on, a subscription model.
Oh, yeah, like streaming services.
Right. You pay your monthly fee, and in return, you get your streaming movies, your curated meal kits, your gym access. Yeah, the perks. And the absolute minute you stop paying, or, the minute that service glitches and stops delivering exactly what you want,
you cancel it immediately.
You cancel it.
Yeah.
It is a clean, logical, perfectly calculated transaction based entirely on mutual benefit.
And that deeply ingrained consumer mindset, it bleeds so easily into how we view human relationships.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. We essentially treat people like streaming platforms.
Wow. Yeah.
We pay with our time, our affection, our patience, but that payment is entirely contingent on getting the happiness, the validation, and the convenience we expect in return.
So if a friend or a partner suddenly stops delivering.
Right. If the stream buffers or the content gets difficult to watch, we cancel the subscription. We just withdraw our affection.
Which sounds exhausting.
It is an exhaustingly reactive way to live.
Okay.
Because we are essentially walking around with a mental scorecard, constantly doing the math to make sure our investments are paying off.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the source material doesn't just critique that modern scorecard.
No, it completely destroys.
Yeah, it completely shatters it by starting with a foundational premise about the actual nature of God.
Right, the 1 John text.
Exactly. It references that famous biblical declaration from the book of 1 John chapter 4, which explicitly states, God is love.
And the argument here isn't just that God does loving things occasionally,
Like a person deciding to be generous for an afternoon or something.
Right. It makes a much, much bigger claim. The claim is that love is his very nature.
Like his core identity.
Exactly. Every single expression of his character flows directly out of this reality. It's crucial to understand the mechanism here.
Which is what, exactly?
Well, love, in this framework, is not a mood he steps into based on how well humanity is behaving.
Oh, I see.
It is fundamentally who he is. When love is an identity rather than just an action or a feeling, it operates entirely independent of external stimuli.
It doesn't need a prompt to activate.
Exactly. It just is.
But, if love is an inherent identity rather than a reaction, I'm struggling to see how that actually survives in the real world.
It's definitely counterintuitive.
Because every relationship I know operates on some level of give and take. Does this framework genuinely expect us to abandon the take entirely?
It does.
Because that operates very differently from our human default settings.
It absolutely abandons the take as a prerequisite for the give. The material draws on a couple of foundational verses, Romans 5.8 and John 3.16, to explain how this anti-transactional love actually functions.
Okay, so how does it function then?
Well, our default transactional model says, I will give to you if you give to me first, or at least I will stay as long as you meet my expectations.
Right. You do something good, I reward you.
And you fail, I pull back. But the gospel love described here does the exact opposite. It initiates.
It initiates.
Yeah.
There is a specific phrase from the book of Romans where the Apostle Paul talks about humanity being loved while they were, quote, still sinners.
Still sinners.
Right. Think about the mechanics of that. God gave before anyone responded.
He forgave before anyone deserved it. Exactly. He pursued when humanity was actively running the other direction. It is an unconditional offering completely divorced from the performance of the recipient.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because if you think about this dynamic, like a seesaw on a playground, it completely breaks all of our natural survival instincts.
The seesaw analogy is perfect for this.
Right, because usually we desperately want our relationships to be a perfectly balanced seesaw. We want equal weight on both sides.
50-50.
Exactly. I put in my 50%, you put in your 50%. If I sense you leaning back and withdrawing,
you lean back to protect yourself.
I immediately lean back to protect myself from falling. But what is being described here is a rigged seesaw.
Yeah, It is.
It's a jarring image. It's talking about putting absolutely all of your weight on one side of the seesaw before the other person has even walked onto the playground, let alone sat down to balance you out.
You are totally 100% exposed.
Yeah, completely exposed.
What's fascinating here is the profound psychological relief embedded in this framework once you actually get past the initial terror of that vulnerability.
Relief. Wait, how's that a relief? That sounds terrifying.
Well, think about the sheer exhaustion of the transactional model we usually live in. You are constantly monitoring the seesaw.
Oh, right. Hypervigilant.
Exactly. You're hypervigilant, constantly evaluating if you are getting exactly what you put in, constantly worried about being taken advantage of.
Yeah, keeping score is exhausting.
But if love is truly non-transactional, like if it gives simply because giving is its fundamental nature, it entirely removes the anxiety of having to earn affection.
Because it's already freely given.
Right. And conversely, it means you don't have to manipulate people into earning yours. When giving is simply the nature of the love itself, that exhausting anxiety over your return on investment completely vanishes.
Okay, I hear that. But giving without getting a return feels like a massive psychological loss.
From a human perspective, yes.
Like, if I'm putting all my weight on that seesaw and nobody's on the other side, my ego is taking a huge hit. It feels like a defeat.
Sure, it crushes the ego.
So how does this framework reconcile this absolute crushing of our natural self-interest? Because naturally, we want to protect ourselves and elevate our own status.
It reconciles it by completely rebuilding our internal motivations from the ground up.
Okay, how so?
The material explores a famous passage, 1 Corinthians 13, which is, often read at weddings.
Oh, sure. Love is patient, love is kind.
Right, that one. But it uses it to systematically dismantle the human ego. It takes very common human defense mechanisms like envy, boasting, and self-seeking, and examines the psychology behind them.
Okay, break that down for us.
Well, the natural self asks, what can I receive from this interaction?
Right.
While this specific brand of love asks, what can I give to this interaction?
It flips the script.
Exactly. The self is desperately seeking comfort and safety, while love is seeking purpose and outward connection.
The breakdown of envy here is particularly striking.
It really is.
Because we usually think of envy as just wanting what someone else has,
Yeah.
like wanting their car or their job.
Right, just basic jealousy.
But the psychology presented here defines envy as a literal grief over another person's blessing. It's viewing the world through a lens of absolute scarcity.
Which is such a toxic way to live.
It really is. It constantly compares and it constantly competes. Like if you get a promotion, that somehow means there's less success available for me.
Right, a zero-sum game.
Yeah. But the alternative presented is that love trusts God's goodness is entirely unlimited.
Right.
Because it operates on an unlimited economy,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to compete. It celebrates, and therefore it completes.
Envy competes, love completes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Envy competes, love completes. That completely rewrites the brain chemistry of how we view other people's success.
It does, and it follows that exact same psychological logic when it addresses boasting.
Oh, boasting, yeah.
Boasting is the exhausting desire to constantly elevate the self. It is a desperate plea that says, look at me, validate me, tell me I matter.
It's all about external validation.
Exactly. Love, on the other hand, never needs that applause. It serves quietly, it gives in secret, and it honors others. The ego screams, look at me, while this love points outward and says, look at Christ.
The ultimate historical example provided for this is the story of Jesus washing his disciples' feet.
Yes, exactly.
The assertion is that he possessed ultimate authority, yet chose to wear a servant's towel before he wore a crown.
He didn't come to be served, but to serve.
Right. But I have to push back on this, or at least ask the question on behalf of anyone navigating the modern corporate world.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
We live in an era of intense personal branding.
Oh, absolutely. LinkedIn, social media, all of it.
Right. We are constantly instructed to advocate for ourselves, to build our platform, to ensure we get the credit for our hard work so we can advance.
Promote yourself or perish, basically.
Yeah. So wait, so the ultimate power move, according to this framework, is actually washing someone's feet.
According to this text, yes.
Does this idea of completing instead of competing mean we aren't supposed to strive for greatness or success?
That's a really common pushback.
Because that feels incredibly countercultural, almost to the point of being a severe disadvantage in real life.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's crucial to understand that the concept here isn't do not be great.
Okay.
Rather, it entirely redefines the actual mechanism of greatness.
Redefines it how?
It shifts the metric of success from how much power you can accumulate to how deeply you are willing to serve.
That's a huge shift.
It is. Think about it. Why do we feel the need to aggressively personal brand? Why do we boast or envy?
To get ahead.
Well, psychologically, it is almost always because we feel insecure about our own standing. We need the external applause to validate our internal worth.
What comes from a place of deficit.
Exactly. We need to visibly be better than the person next to us so we feel we have value. But the argument here is that a heart rooted in the specific gospel love doesn't need to compete for significance.
Because its identity is already completely secure.
You nailed it. If your identity is utterly secure, the desperate, clawing need for external validation evaporates.
Oh, wow.
You can wash someone's feet, you can take the lowest, most menial role without feeling internally diminished because your status isn't tied to the task.
Okay, I see the mechanism there. The security allows for the humility.
Precisely.
But hold on, that leads to a massive practical tension.
Okay, what's the tension?
If we are completely stripping away the ego, like if love is entirely self-sacrificing, constantly seeking the lowest place, enduring hardship, hiding in the shadows without applause, and laying down its rights for the good of another,
Right.
doesn't that just turn us into passive doormats?
The doormat question.
Yeah, because if we are always putting our weight on the seesaw, regardless of what the other person does, people will just take and take.
They will.
This brings up a critical question posed in the material. Does love hold on even when it hurts?
It does ask that, and the answer it provides is incredibly carefully calibrated.
Okay, what is it?
It answers, yes, but with wisdom.
With wisdom.
Right. It references the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 13, which talks about the ultimate love being a willingness to lay down one's life for one's friends.
Right.
It acknowledges the historical reality that Jesus endured betrayal, rejection, deep humiliation, and physical torture. This love absolutely endures hardship when righteousness or goodness requires it. It forgives even when wounded.
But there is a massive boundary line drawn here, isn't there?
A very firm one, yes.
It explicitly states that biblical love is absolutely not enabling sin or accepting abuse.
Exactly.
It points out the historical paradox. Jesus loved perfectly, yet he routinely confronted evil. There were times he actively withdrew from hostile crowds.
He didn't just let them trample him whenever they wanted.
Right, he did not entrust himself to every single person who approached him. The material states, love always walks with truth.
That's a key phrase.
So I really need you to clarify this tension for us.
Okay.
How do you reconcile laying down your rights on one hand with withdrawing from a hostile crowd on the other?
It's tricky, right?
It is. Where exactly is the line drawn between healthy, ultimate sacrifice and toxic self-destruction?
It's a vital distinction, and it entirely hinges on the definition of what you are sacrificing for.
The purpose of the sacrifice.
Right. The framework defines love as actively choosing another person's highest good. Now we have to define what good actually means.
Okay.
Sometimes a person's ultimate good is being firmly confronted with the truth of their actions, not being passively enabled in their toxicity.
Let's ground this. What does that look like?
If you have a friend making deeply destructive choices, just smiling and accepting it isn't love, it's enabling.
Wow. Okay.
If love always walks with truth, then sacrificing your own boundaries to allow someone to continue in abusive behavior isn't an act of love toward them. It's actively participating in their destruction.
So let's define redemption here in practical terms, because that word gets thrown around a lot.
Right.
You mean sacrificing your comfort to actively heal or restore the person rather than just passively taking their punches?
Exactly. Sacrifice, in this context, is strictly for the sake of redemption, restoring wholeness. It's not for the sake of merely accepting abuse.
That makes a lot of sense.
The argument is that Jesus endured the cross because a redemptive, restoring outcome required that specific sacrifice. He didn't just suffer for the sheer sake of suffering.
It had a purposeful goal.
Right. When he faced a hostile crowd that just wanted to violently destroy him without any redemptive purpose, he wisely withdrew.
So true love is robust enough to endure immense pain for the sake of healing and restoration, but it is wise enough to walk away from pointless, unrepentant destruction.
Perfectly said.
It's a profound balance.
Yeah.
It's not a weak, passive emotion. It's incredibly robust and sharply defined.
Highly defined.
And that delicate balance, the willingness to make the ultimate sacrifice, coupled with an absolute commitment to truth, it has to culminate somewhere.
It does.
The material brings all these high-level, abstract theological concepts crashing down to earth in its central, concluding image. This is where the theory actually meets history.
Right. The culminating assertion is that the greatest sermon ever delivered on the subject of love was not spoken from a wooden pulpit, but demonstrated on a wooden cross.
That's a powerful image.
The physical nails declared the reality of the love, the shed blood declared the depth of the mercy, and the historical resurrection declared the ultimate victory.
It's not just words.
No, it states flatly that love is ultimately measured by sacrifice. It has to cost something.
Right.
It forgives, it serves, it gives, and it remains faithful, but it does so at great personal expense.
You know, the imagery here is so stark.
It is very graphic.
When we think of love today, we often picture a fluffy pastel Hallmark greeting card.
Oh, totally. Soft edges, sweet words, maybe a box of chocolates.
Exactly. We write catchy 3-minute pop songs about it.
Yeah.
But this material contrasts that soft cultural idea with the harsh, brutal, splintered reality of wood, iron nails, and physical blood.
It's jarring on purpose.
It really is. It takes this deeply abstract emotion, something we often struggle to even define, and grounds it into a shockingly physical, infinitely costly historical event.
It's the exact opposite of a greeting card.
It really is. So what does this all mean?
This raises an important question, really synthesizing everything we've unpacked today.
Right.
If the modern world asks the question, what is true love? This material argues that the historical event of the cross forever answers it.
Not with the definition.
No, crucially, it doesn't answer the question with a dictionary definition or a dense philosophical treatise or a list of romantic gestures.
How does it answer it?
It answers the question with a person.
Wow.
The ultimate evidence of love isn't merely the poetry we say to one another. The metric is what we're actually willing to sacrifice for the ultimate good of another.
He died so that humanity might live.
Exactly. That is the final, uncompromising metric we are left with.
So, to summarize this deep dive for you, the learner, understanding this material provides a profound aha moment regarding the very foundation of Christian theology.
It really does reframe everything.
It does. It is built entirely on an initiating, non-transactional, truth-bound love that completely defies our modern world's definition of convenient, subscription-based affection.
All right, it's not about finding someone who perfectly balances your side of the seesaw so you feel safe.
Exactly. It's about a God who willingly put all his weight on the seesaw while humanity was still walking onto the playground, offering a secure identity that completely removes our need to constantly compete and frantically boast.
It is a total paradigm shift from the exhausting transactional mindset to a deeply secure, unconditional reality.
It really is.
It moves us away from desperately seeking our own comfort and safety toward boldly choosing another person's ultimate good, even when that choice requires profound personal sacrifice and holding difficult boundaries.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to mull over as you go about your week.
Yes.
What would happen if you applied just a tiny fraction of this non-transactional initiating love to your daily life?
Just a fraction.
What if tomorrow morning you actively chose to give before the other person deserved it in a difficult relationship or, during a deeply frustrating meeting at work?
That would change everything.
It would. How might completely abandoning the tit-for-tat scorecard fundamentally rewrite the rules of your own life?
That's the real challenge.
Because if you stop treating your life, your friendships, and your relationships like a conditional streaming service,
If you stop threatening to cancel the minute things get uncomfortable,
you might just discover something far more powerful.